Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, joined as always by Don Pizzette up there in the upper corner. Don, how's it going?
It is going great. You know, we're having a lot of fun with our basically like CertNexus month here. So we've got a great guest lined up today to talk more about that and just amazing cybersecurity news and other things going on. So it's a fun week. Mixed bag.
Yeah, we got a new segment a little bit later we're going to get to as well. So that's exciting. Daniel, how's it going?
It's going well. Got a new laptop. I finally moved away from the Mac. The Mac is dead, and it's in Nate's hands. And now I have this wonderful Lenovo that I'm learning to enjoy.
Windows, Linux?
It is running Windows at this point. So far, so good. So far, so good. I like the having Windows available and not being virtualized. I can always virtualize some sort of Linux distro and get there.
I'm still wondering where you got Millennium Edition from, but somehow he did.
You know, I keep it on a CD.
See,
that's a throwback for people that weren't watching before this show.
That wasn't on the air, those jokes. Yeah. And as Don alluded to, we are joined by Lindsay Bachman, who's the Director of Certifications at CertNexus. How you doing, Lindsay?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing fantastic. Well, I'll speak
Thank
for the
you.
group, but yeah, they told me they were doing good, so I'll pass it along. They said they're doing
We
good.
were like,
aggregate their responses, yeah.
Tell her we're good.
They're good. What are you on, a Mac, PC? What you got going over there?
I'm on a PC.
Okay, all right.
Windows,
Sure.
Basic.
You got your pumpkin spice latte as well?
No.
Windows?
No.
That kind of basic.
No, okay.
Thank you.
There are levels of basic. And
I like how she was almost offended by that comment.
I was a little bit.
I apologize.
I think I'm confused. Is there more to this?
Well, she
pumpkin?
said
It's
basic.
starting to become like cliche that
Oh,
people.
okay. All right.
drink pumpkin
I'm out of the
spice
loop on that one.
Anyhow, Don is so basic.
I know.
All right, well, let's get to know Lindsay a little bit more in our first segment, rapid fire questions.
What do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
All right, Lindsay, in this segment, we've got a couple of questions we're going to fling at you, and you'll have approximately 1 minute for each question. If you take too long, Peter will buzz you.
Oh, was that supposed to do the buzzer there?
If you can.
Sorry.
It's
Yeah.
amazing talent that we demand. There we go.
There you go.
It'll be like that, which actually means you'll have about a minute and a half to answer
because
each question.
It'll take him 30 seconds to find the buzzer.
No,
So plenty
I
of
wasn't
time.
ready.
I'll plan accordingly.
You only say that every week. How was I supposed to know you were going to do it again?
I know. It's like you expect the movie to end a different way.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the plan. We're going to move through. It's going to be a lot of fun. Peter, kick us off.
Yeah, so we had Jeff Felice on last week, who's the CEO of CertNexus, and but for those that did not catch that episode, first of all, shame on you. But second of all, can you just kind of give us a quick recap of who CertNexus is?
Absolutely. So CertNexus, we're primarily a professional certifications company. So, for people who don't know what that means, professional certifications really, kind of fill a space in the IT industry. And we also play in the emerging technology industry for validating skills and, kind of determining skills gaps and filling those gaps with professional certifications that, live outside of having a college degree or, other preparation type tasks of that nature. So CertNexus, we started really with cybersecurity. We have an incident responder exam and a secure coding exam. But a couple of years ago, we noticed there was a gap, if you will, kind of as emerging technology started to really, amp up. And we started with an Internet of Things certification program and have since expanded that out to include artificial intelligence and machine learning. We'll talk about some of our other offerings in a little bit, I think. So data science, and also within those areas, we have business level credentials. So really more for like your C-suite folks who need to know, about what emerging tech is and how they might use it in their organization. But primarily we focus on kind of this practitioner level of people who are going to be tasked with implementing IoT or using machine learning in some manner within their organization. And then typically we also offer some sort of security level. IoT has a security program. And just recently, our latest program that we just started last month, October 30th, its latest and greatest, is really around the ethics of emerging technology and making sure that you're approaching emerging technology and using emerging technology with ethics in mind. And that really has generated a lot of interest in within the industry, because it's something that's huge, but it's not something that a lot of people are focused on these days. So that's a really exciting new thing we have going for us.
Now, I know CertNexus is a kind of a growing name in the industry, that there's other providers out there with certifications like Microsoft and Cisco and people like that. We see in the media a lot of the certs, and they're promoted. There's marketing campaigns behind them, but we don't normally see the people behind the scenes like you who are making these certifications possible. Now, I know your title is Director of Certifications. I'm curious, what does that mean? Are you the one who's selecting exam objectives? Are you picking what certifications you offer? What's your role inside of CertNexus?
So that's, CertNexus is a really small organization. We're not CompTIA size. So this is a really interesting question for me and for people to hear, I think, my response, because really, as my role as Director of Certification Programs, I do it all. Literally, it's me kind of supporting our entire program from kind of determining what our program should be. So I'm involved in the process of what our products should be, what's going to come up on our roadmap. I'm involved in the development of those certification programs, the production and delivery of those certification programs, and then kind of the follow-on things that come after it. So, candidate and certificate management. So I'll kind of explain what all those things mean. So, obviously, we look at the industry from a certification perspective and figure out where are there skills gaps, what needs certification, what does somebody or the industry feel that there is a need for us to validate those skills for employers, for whether that's new employees you're looking for or existing employees. Is there a government need for a certification in that area? Are there foreign programs that are paying money out to their citizens for skills, for upskilling? So we look at the market, we figure out, okay, where is there a gap? And then what do we want that certification to be? And we do a lot of, internal discussion and research about, what that certification should be, what the purpose should be. And then we start to recruit the people that will help us. Now, I am not a subject matter expert in all of these areas of technology. I wish I was, but I'm a subject matter expert in developing certifications. So we really go out to the industry and recruit our subject matter experts, who are people who have experience working and expertise in the content areas that would be covered by an exam of that nature. And then we go through a fairly rigorous process of a series of workshops, where the first is called the job task analysis, where we gather all of those subject matter experts together and determine as a group what are the job tasks that someone would need to be able to perform, and then what are the competencies they would need to have in order to perform those job tasks. And that is the foundation of a certification exam. It is really led by the performance and the doing that would have to be done on the job.
All right,
yeah.
Oh, I was going to jump in because you were talking about that ethics in the emerging technology, and I know that CertNexus is fairly new, if not like super new. The idea of the Certified Ethical Emerging Technologist as a certification. Could you jump into that a little bit, because I want to know a little bit more about that, and I think that people would be really interested in this cert.
Sure. So, like I said, we really felt that when it came to, especially, for a program that sits kind of above our artificial intelligence, our certified artificial intelligence practitioner, and our soon to be certified data science practitioner that's currently in development, we wanted to sit above that rather than a true security exam. We felt that, the idea of all these risks that live around collecting data and using data is really important. And so, we kind of touch upon some ethics in our certified artificial intelligence practitioner that we really wanted to build upon. And that became the basis for certified ethical emerging technologist. And so in that case, we gathered a phenomenal group of SMEs together who are just doing such great work. There's a lot of people doing work out there around ethics and data. And we were really fortunate to get some really great people involved. But really what, so the topics that are covered in, we call it SEAT, in SEAT are, we touch upon some of the fundamentals. So, what are the fundamental concepts of ethics, the ethical principles that you might need to know. There's a lot of philosophy around that. So having a base knowledge of what those principles are. But then there's also a number of ethical frameworks that are available out there in the world that people are, abiding by or should be following. It's kind of like, where cybersecurity was 10, 15 years ago, there's a lot of things being made in different countries. There's nothing that's necessarily at the, the global level, but various frameworks for development and use of data-driven technology that people should be aware of. And then a really large portion of the Certified Ethical Emerging Technologist exam is focused on identifying and mitigating the various risks involved with collecting data, using data in your algorithms and your models, and then how you use that data to make business decisions, or you've collected all this data. How are you then using that to market it, market new products to your existing customers?
All right. Yeah, I think we've totally broken our rapid fire model.
Sorry.
No, and I think
I didn't get buzzed.
We were over here mocking Peter.
I'm like, I don't want to buzz somebody.
You were busy saying interesting things.
It's hard to buzz someone.
If you'd like me to.
Oh, there it goes. Oh, and the time is up on that one. But we do want to talk about one of the other certifications that's brand new from you guys, but we'll come back to that in just a second. First, we want to go ahead and get to our next segment for this week, which is Big News This Week.
And now, the news.
We switched to Bluetooth on this thing because the cable wasn't working. And yeah.
Is that what product is that? Oh yeah. There's that.
I know Don loves Bluetooth too. So
It would have been fine on a Zune.
It would.
the Zune would have nailed it.
Worked like a charm.
That's true. Well, the article we're looking at this week is from realcleareducation.com. Combining degrees with quality certifications is a win for everyone. And I know when we had Jeff on last week, we talked about degrees or certifications, and I don't know why it never crossed my mind. Just get both. I mean, I know that that's probably not necessarily feasible for everyone, but is there are there extra benefits to having both of these, Lindsay, rather than just focusing really hard in on one?
Well, so I think that first and foremost, there's a lot of confusion in out there in the world about what is a certification and how that's different from a certificate that you would get upon completion of some training, or in this case a degree. If you think about your university or your college experience, if you walked out with a degree, your degree is forever. There's nothing that you have to do to maintain your status as a degree holder. But certifications are really part of what makes them robust, is that they're good for a period of time. And within that period of time, either you have to retake the latest exam that has been organized around what those job tasks are, or you have to enroll in some sort of continuing education. And if you don't meet the requirements of that certification, it can be revoked from you. So really a combination of a degree and a certification is proof of that ongoing continuing improvement and staying up to date on what's new, and especially in the cybersecurity field, and especially in emerging technology, IoT, machine learning, data science, where things are not fully baked. They're not that fully baked cookie yet.
Sure.
Things are changing, frameworks are changing. It's really important that you are constantly being called to task as being up to date with the latest and greatest information and principles or procedures that are out there in the world, so that you are being validated as currently and accurately valid.
So you're saying that
skills and knowledge.
The degree is kind of the foundation that shows, hey, I have this fundamental foundation, and kind of, with a degree, you've got a broad range because you've got to take other classes outside of your core degree. But then the certifications, if those are on your resume, that proves that, yes, I've kept up to date on this, and I've got the latest and greatest.
And if you think about, like traditional, schooling or courseware, you might have an assessment at the end, but that's primarily knowledge based. It's making sure, did you learn something? Can you recall it? Is it rote? It's more rote memory, where certifications are really meant to be competency and performance based. A lot of certifications literally have some sort of performative piece that you have to do. That's a growing trend in the industry. So the certification is really meant to be more competency and task focused. So the combination of the two says, yeah, I know these, I have these knowledge, skills, and abilities, and a certification really speaks to your ability, to your competency for performing those tasks.
Now, I guess it kind of is important when we consider combining the two that we think about what that degree is in, because I know there are some people who get like a bachelor's degree in English or English lit.
Political science.
And like some people. And then they decide they want to get into IT, and so they pursue certifications as a way to get their foot into the door of IT. So in that aspect, now you've got IT certifications that show a hands-on skill, and you've got this degree in something completely unrelated. If you were in that situation, or if you were giving advice to somebody like that, would you encourage them to seek an IT degree also, or is just a degree a degree?
I personally don't necessarily ascribe to the need to have a degree. I have a degree. I'm one of those people I'm an English major. I have a master's in English. And it's been great.
Unintended.
It's great I have really great communication skills. I can really, write and read really well. But like my husband, who is a software engineer, doesn't have a degree. But he has 20 years of experience because he started coding when he was 16. So I think there's space for both of those things to be out there in the world. I think that's a great, example. If you have an English degree and you change careers, I mean, we're in an industry and we're in a time where people are changing careers for a number of reasons. And certifications, I think, are a way to kind of fill that gap of, I can't go back to school. I can't get a 4-year degree. I need something I can, take some courseware or a boot camp and spend 6 months studying and then take a certification exam and come out with something that shows that I have skills that employers are looking at. Maybe in addition to having on the job experience, but I think there's room for both, and I think we should start using both in whatever manner works for your organization as a way to validate that people have those skills.
Sure. Well, speaking of certifications and new certifications, kind of staying on the cutting edge, Jeff kind of alluded to last week the new data scientist practitioner certification, but in terms of what you've got going on now, that's something that's probably taken up a lot of your time. So where is that in the life cycle right now?
Yeah. So right now, data science practitioner we're just kicking it off. We will have our first workshop actually the end of this week, starting on Friday, with our subject matter experts who are all gathering to perform that job task analysis, which is really like the keystone of everything we do. So we'll gather them all together, and we'll just kind of poll that group of what are those job tasks that someone would need to be able to perform, and not necessarily job tasks, it's such a misnomer, but tasks in general that if we were to say this person is a certified data science practitioner, what do they need to be able to do? And then, what kind of, we call them the for example subtopics, or what kind of tools would somebody need to know, or technologies or techniques that would enable them to be able to perform that task. And really what comes out of that workshop we call it the exam blueprint. And it's a big old list of, the exam domains. So all the tasks become exam objectives. So things that you would need to be able to perform and will be asked questions about on your exam. And then they all roll up into, kind of these umbrella terms that we call domains. And each of those domains gets a weighting or a percentage that they are covered on the exam. So that blueprint will be available towards the end of the month. An exam blueprint becomes publicly available information, and
so you'll launch that
on our website.
That'll come out before the full course is done, or the full certifications out there.
Yeah. So that as soon as we're kind of finished in its draft form, where all the objectives are available, the exam blueprint becomes kind of public knowledge and public information, because anyone anywhere at any organization could develop training materials toward that exam blueprint. Obviously, at CertNexus, we engage with somebody to create those exam materials, whether that's through our sister organization, Logical Operations, or through the Coursera platform, where we have certified ethical emerging technologists is on Coursera. But the exam blueprint kind of goes out there to the world for people to start, looking at, and you can study for that exam just based on the blueprint. Or you could say, hey, I'm a courseware organization. I want to develop some training materials towards that. And then that kind of goes in two directions. That exam blueprint goes to our courseware development team, and they do what they do. And then I continue it forward, and I take that to our item writing group, where we, again, gather some subject matter experts, train them on how to write a good, challenging exam question. And then we write those questions and assemble a form. It usually takes a couple of weeks, or 2 months to 3 months.
See, that's where the English degree comes in. Then finally,
it does come in handy.
You're writing the questions.
It does.
So there you go.
I don't write the questions. I just kind of facilitate them and show them how to, I'll review them for accuracy,
Sure.
From a grammatical perspective. But really, the accuracy of content, the validity of a question, is reviewed and approved by all the subject matter experts. A question doesn't end up on an exam unless everyone, or at least a majority, approves it as it is. So
sure, it's an incredible amount of work that goes behind those exams.
It's a lot of work. And then we have a beta test, which is where the actual live exam is available for the taking. We're always looking for people who want to take beta tests. So, visit our website end of January, early February to find out information about our beta test. And essentially, it's a really cheap opportunity to take a certification exam.
And that counts as having the cert then, even after the beta exam?
If you've passed. So the way the beta exam works is you take the exam, you don't get a score right away at the end, because what we're looking for is performance data. So, how many people got this question right? That might be this question is too easy. How many people got this question wrong? That might be it's too hard, or there's a flaw in the way the question's written. But we use that exam performance data and kind of get an idea of what a appropriate passing score would be. And that becomes the passing score for that exam. And then we look back at the beta data. And if you've passed, if you've achieved that passing score or higher than that passing score, you are granted certification. So, okay. And it's really sometimes the beta is offered for free. Sometimes it's offered at like $25.
Sure.
So that's a really, really interesting way for you to contribute to our exam development, but also potentially get a pretty cheap certification out of the deal.
Yeah, I think just let me take it, and then anything I get right, go ahead and assume that that's too easy and move on. But so CertNexus.com.
I'll just remove your name from our data if I see it.
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
delete it right now.
That'd be smart. And if you see Daniel in the ethics exam, just know that doesn't make any sense.
Outlier.
Yeah. So CertNexus.com. So check out the blueprint when that's up soon, and then keep an eye out for the beta for the tests as well. And obviously got all the other testing information there as well for all the certifications that have existed for a while. So make sure to check that out over at CertNexus.com. Well, thank you, Lindsay, so much for taking the time and joining us today.
Okay, thanks, guys. It was fun.
Yeah, and stay tuned, everybody. We got more Technado coming up right after this quick break.
This is Kevin. He's studying online for a Microsoft certification and using another online IT training service. He's also on his second pot of coffee today to stay awake. And this is Kyle. He's also studying Microsoft but using IT Pro TV. Rather than watching a boring voiceover PowerPoint, he's actually enjoying the training with two hosts in an interactive format. Both Kevin and Kyle have access to virtual labs and practice tests, but Kyle can also get help through a live chat with other IT Pro TV members and his instructors, as well as post to a Q&A forum. He can even search for exactly what he's looking for in the interactive video transcripts, all while paying less than Kevin. Oh, and Kyle can also watch in comfort via Roku app. Kevin and Kyle are both learning IT, but Kyle is enjoying the journey. Want to be more like Kyle? View the plans to start your IT Pro TV membership today.
Welcome back to Technado with Don Pizzette, and thank you to Lindsay from CertNexus for sharing kind of the behind the scenes, how the sausage is made on the certifications. That was kind of cool to hear, so thank you so much for that. But we've got a lot of news to get to, but actually before the regular news, we have a news segment, News from Captain Obvious.
Stay tuned for the news.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
All right, this article is from ZDNet.com, and when Don saw this, he said, this is like
the dumbest article ever.
Ransomware gangs that steal your data don't always delete it.
Dun, dun, dun.
What? Half of the Q3 2020 ransomware investigations involved data exfiltration, with cases doubling from the previous quarter. So I know, Don, we've talked a lot about with ransomware attacks, are they just encrypting the data, or are they actually exfiltrating it? And so this is saying in those cases, when you pay, they're just going, okay, cool, I'll put it to the side, but they're keeping it.
So originally, ransomware would just encrypt your data, and they would exfiltrate the decryption key, or they'd have some other way of generating a decryption key, and that's what they would ransom you for. You had to pay them money to get the key. Well, as companies wised up and started protecting their systems, they realized, like, hey, if I get hit by ransomware, I can just format and restore from a backup. And my backup's not encrypted. I'll restore it. I'll be back in business. And so the ransomware attackers had to find a way to circumvent that. And so what they started doing is either just prior to or during the encryption process, they exfiltrate copies of the data to servers somewhere else. Then they still try to ransom you based on the encrypted data. But if you say, no, I'm going to restore from a backup, then that's when they say, well, by the way, we've got a copy of all your data. And if you don't pay a data deletion fee, which is the same as the decryption fee, then we're going to
double it like out of spite at that point.
I think some of them have started trying to do that. But yeah, they say that if you want us to delete the data, you got to pay this extra fee, or we're going to release it online. And that's a lot worse. Like, restoring from a backup doesn't solve that. Now they've got your data and they're going to expose it online. You know, that's a big problem. Companies are paying these ransoms left and right. And what they're finding is that in over half the cases, you can't trust the criminal to delete the data when they say they're going to.
Now, if anything I know about criminals is that they are very trustworthy people.
There's a code.
So I'm surprised about this.
Honor among thieves. Where did that phrase come from?
Oh, you've got to start stealing because you're not a thief.
If I steal my data back, they go, okay, well, no,
Yeah,
good on you.
All right.
Fair's fair.
So the thing is, if you get hit by ransomware now, you do need to be able to show whether or not exfiltration occurred, or you have to treat it as a breach. Most people don't consider getting a virus on your computer a data breach, right? But most ransomware packages these days are being changed to exfiltrate data, which means if you get ransomware, it needs to be handled as a breach. It's a big deal.
Oh, man. Now I'm starting to think about, like, I just want to put a bunch of, like, malware logic bombs throughout and make it's data that they would want. And that way I'm like, I encrypted you back, sucker.
Yeah, well, there's the canaries that
that's
people
true.
are starting to put on networks. Yeah.
Got to find them.
See, I'm an ethical hacker myself, so I use an escrow service that the data goes through. So I never actually have your data, and then when you pay me the Bitcoin, I let the escrow service know, and they delete the data for me.
Well, that was nice of them.
Yeah,
That seems fair.
Yeah.
that's
Except
a
for the
business.
part
That's a
where
business I could.
they
start.
could go, I've got all this data in. Y'all got some money? I know you just paid this guy, but I'll take some.
I made up that business model, but I like it. I might go with it. I will look into it. All right, well, let's get to the regular news then. Our first article is from TechRadar.com. ARM has launched a CPU monster that will get Intel and AMD very worried. It's designed to power next-gen, always-on portables. So when we're talking about portables, is that just like phones or tablets, all that kind of stuff?
So most of this stuff is designed for phones and tablets, but we're starting to see laptops that are basically in the tablet arena. And so ARM processors are typically focused not so much on speed and processing power. They're more focused on power consumption, right? They want to give you 20 hours of battery life versus the 6 hours you might get on your laptop. So that's kind of what they're designed with. Well, now ARM is stepping up their game. You know, this week, Apple is announcing their ARM-powered MacBooks. So they're basically moving to Apple-developed silicon, which are not technically ARM processors, but they use the ARM instruction set. So, you know, kind of hand-in-hand with this. So the ARM group has actually released specs for the Cortex A78C, and the C is supposed to stand for compute. This one is designed to be used in devices that are more laptop-like. And traditionally, these Cortex processors had 4 big cores and 4 small cores that were used for various operations. This new one just has 8 big cores, and that puts it much, much closer in line with a desktop processor. So this is ARM basically firing the first shot, saying, "Hey, we're ready for everybody, not just Intel."
Is this going to
Apple?
Is this going to give them like less power consumption, or are we still going to see really good power consumption with added benefit of more compute power?
They say you still get the good battery consumption.
The hell you say?
That's what they're saying. I mean, obviously, we don't have one in our hand to test.
Yeah. I can't wait
claim.
to give that
hot.
a whirl.
Yeah, you don't want to hold that. So I've always been confused by this, Don, and you kind of alluded to it. So hopefully, maybe you can use a second here to clear this up. So ARM is a company, but ARM is also it something that I could create an ARM chip, or it kind of like Android?
So the ARM organization does not make a single piece of hardware. they not a single piece. They make two things. So one, they make the design specifications for the ARM processors, which they then license out to other companies. Okay. Companies like NVIDIA will license that and actually make the real processors. And then they separately license the instruction set for talking to the processor, right? And so in the case of Apple, what Apple did is they licensed the instruction set. And so you can talk to one of the Apple, like the M1 processor now, you can talk to that using your standard ARM instructions. So if I compile an application for an ARM CPU, it'll run on Apple's hardware. But it's not an actual ARM CPU under the hood. It's something that Apple has completely developed in-house.
All right. That cleared it up.
I like this, though. I want to have like really good work experience on my laptop, my mobile devices, and still have that life. I hate you were always talking about how you're always plugged in. I can't stand being tethered. I want to be able to roam around and not have to be plugged in. Yeah. So
Daniel's a wild horse.
I am.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with Ronnie Wong from IT Pro TV earlier, and he uses a Mac. It's an Intel Mac, and they've announced these ARM Macs, and he was asking about if you should take the plunge on it. And so we started kind of running through the software that he uses, trying to identify what would break. And, your web browser is going to work. Navigating your network, printing to a printer is going to work. So the normal stuff you do is going to work. But then we got to VMware Fusion. Not going to work.
And that's done.
Yep. And for him, because of all the stuff he does with virtual machines, that's broken. So, it'll be a little while before, at least in the IT world, before your techie people are ready to make that jump to ARM.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to it with bated breath.
Do we know, is this going to make MacBooks cheaper than the ones that are?
Yeah. Well, if instead of $3,000, they'll be $29.95.
No. Well, if it can't do all the things that the other ones can.
No, I've seen the pricing. They are just as expensive. They
perfect.
Have not reduced at all. Yep.
Good to know.
All right, way to stick to your guns there, Apple. All right, our next article is from ZDNet.com. Windows 10, 20H2, and 2004 upgrades blocked over Intel Thunderbolt DMA violation. So this is kind of a similar thing. So Thunderbolt that's proprietary,
right?
But they use those connections. Apple's licensed those, so they have done something wrong there.
So DMA Thunderbolt is actually developed by Intel. And that is a standard they've created. Apple has embraced it pretty thoroughly, so most Macs have a Thunderbolt port. In the Windows world, on the standard PC side, Thunderbolt is far less common. And it's been kind of flaky, the Thunderbolt drivers. Apple's put a lot of work to making it stable on their system. Microsoft does not put that kind of work on theirs. And so it shows in that this week they had to suspend the 20H2 and 2004 upgrades from being rolled out to any machine that has Intel Thunderbolt ports on it. So those two updates are kind of important. Most people have been watching for them. The 20H2 contains some of the new start menu options. So the UI for your end users changes a little bit. So people have been watching for it. But basically, Thunderbolt has a mode where it does direct memory access. You plug in a Thunderbolt device, and it can talk directly to RAM without having to go through the CPU. And there have been a lot of security concerns over that somebody could potentially use that to access memory on your system with no security protections. And so Microsoft has put various protections in place, which I suspect is the problem here. But basically, the end result is if you are running one of those Windows Update versions and you've got a Thunderbolt device, you will get random blue screens. So if your computer has been randomly blue screening and shutting down, it may actually be the Thunderbolt devices that are causing that. And until there's an update, Microsoft has stopped that update from pushing out.
Oh, wow.
Welcome back to Windows, Daniel.
Yeah. Well, good news is I don't have any Thunderbolt devices.
Most people don't.
Yeah,
you don't have any. What kind of ports do you have on that new machine?
Oh, man, this thing's got all sorts of stuff. I got USB-C, I got a Thunderbolts. I've got
HDMI. We got tactical nukes.
Oh, man, I got an actual RJ45 tactical nukes. Could be awesome. Except for then I'm like a nuclear power, and I'm going to have to be like sanctioned by some government.
Do you remember I think it was a director's cut of Aliens? When the guy is like running down all the equipment, he's telling Ripley she's fine. Like, we got auto cannons, we got sentry guns, we got tactical nukes.
He did have tactical nukes.
You can fit all that in there. That's impressive.
That was great. It's actually, I'm really happy with this so far. This is a Lenovo P15S. So got the full size. Don, you're rocking the 14, right?
13.
Oh, he likes them a little smaller. But I wanted the more. I'm old now, and I can't see like I once did. So
You're
having the larger screen was
this
nice.
Week to tell me that, like, they wanted the larger laptop because their eyes are getting bad.
Dude, it's crazy. It's like I turned 40, and all of a sudden my body was like, F you, I'm out.
Well, didn't you watch Minority Report? There's something you can do.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
which is
You just
I
need
didn't
a-
watch Minority Report.
You didn't? No, you just
Yeah.
need a bathtub full of ice and a pair of eyeballs from someone else.
Oh, well,
And
there's that.
I can do it for you.
Someone younger.
Oh.
Someone
yeah,
younger.
yeah, get younger eyes.
Like, I got 60-year-old eyes?
Yeah.
This is so stupid. Why would I do this?
Oh man, they told me they were 16-year-old eyes.
Then you got to change all your credit cards and stuff, I think, to your new identity.
Oh,
When you-
yeah, I guess that could be a problem.
That's how you do that in the future.
Yeah.
Do you do the surgery on yourself, or?
No, you have a black market guy
Yeah.
Oh, there's a market.
who like gives you a string so you can find your way around the apartment while you can't see for a while, and puts a moldy sandwich out for you.
Yeah, well, can you just make my browser bigger? Because
That might be easier.
Another option would be
yeah.
a pinch zoom.
yeah.
All right, let's move on now to our next article from Phoronix.com. Fedora developers discussing retiring NTP, deprecating SCP protocol. How dare they?
I
John,
know.
this is one of those where I don't know what those two things are.
So this one caught me by surprise. It's one of those I learned something today articles.
Yeah.
So SCP, Secure Copy Protocol, has been around a long time. I hate it. It's a pain in the butt.
It is a pain.
Yeah, it has no navigation functionality. So like you have to know exactly where the files are that you're going to be moving around with it. So, for most of us, SFTP has been a total replacement for that, which is just FTP over SSH. And so the Fedora developers, that's kind of the cutting edge of the Red Hat development cycle. They're saying that SCP needs to go away. And so they're proposing to modify the SCP command in Fedora to actually use SFTP. And then
So it's like
Yeah.
fooling you into thinking you're using SCP, but you're
So
actually
you still have the
SFTP.
command, but it's using SFTP, and then over time they could phase it all out. And the command as it is, if it fails to connect with SFTP, it would fail back to SCP. So that's what they're proposing, which I thought was kind of neat. I'm not a fan of SCP anyway, so I'm kind of glad to see that. But the NTP side of this got me, because I was like, network time protocol, we all use that. How can you deprecate it? But apparently there is a bit of a developer coup in the core NTP project where the development is not being open and freely discussed. You can't do code review right now of some of the new stuff that's being done.
You're saying there's a technology religious war happening?
certainly
I
seems
just
that
don't
way.
believe it.
Yep.
It never happens.
And there's a few high-profile security bugs that have not been fixed in a significant amount of time, enough that the Fedora developers are worried about it. And so they're talking about phasing out the standard NTP service that's a part of most Linux distros and moving to NTP-Sec, which is one that has a whole security subset built into it. So really neat times. Two venerable protocols that have been around that are about to change pretty significantly.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I like how, because we see this from time to time, right? You're thinking, oh, I'm using the old command that I grew up on. No, you're kind of not.
Yeah, it looks like
we
it.
just made it give you the look and feel of that old jalopy you're used to, but this is actually the new Ferrari.
I will just read this article anytime I'm having trouble falling asleep.
it's a health benefit.
I am lost on that one, but I know a little bit more now. Thank you.
Yeah, well, SCP, that's the Secure Clown Posse.
It's secure,
Oh,
right?
right. Yeah, big fan.
The Scuggalos, I guess.
Scuggalos,
yeah.
I was trying to think of one.
All right, we're totally adopting that, right?
Yeah,
That's-
Scuggalos is
if you're a
trademarked.
Technado fan, you're now a Scuggalo.
Scuggalo.
Yep.
Yeah, we need to reserve that domain
That's
before.
right. Scuggalos.com.
Or scugga.low.
Can we get face paint?
Oh heck yeah! Because we got to defeat the facial recognition software
good
and
point.
stuff, right?
Yes, we talked
It's
about.
all about security here on Technado.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're doing it.
Yeah,
Not because
that's
it's
it.
super fun.
Yeah, and ridiculous.
All right. Ridiculous. All right, so we had a Captain Obvious reference earlier, and so now let's move on to an article from Engadget about Hotels.com and Expedia provider exposed. Wait, Hotels.com is owned by Expedia? I don't know.
That was the other way around. Expedia was owned
Expedia
by
owns.
Hotels.com.
Okay, yeah.
You're owned by
Hotels.com
Expedia.
oh God, I knew it. They exposed data for millions of guests. That's what happened, and it
There we
opened the
go.
door to theft and fraud. So, boy, first of all, I didn't know they still had customers this year.
Yes,
as travel
somebody-
websites. So
That is a
all
good
you
point.
should have been doing now is just watching the old data.
So they were watching the old data. In fact, they left it in a Amazon S3 bucket. We've heard this story before. This should be Deja News. That they put it in an Amazon S3 bucket with no security. Again, read permissions to the whole wide world. Over 10 over 10 million log files dating all the way back to 2013. 7 years.
In their defense, Don, permissions are hard.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really
permissions.
time
It's
consuming
crazy.
and frustrating.
How dare we expect people to understand the infrastructure they're deploying on?
I know.
Fortunately, the data only included names, credit card details, ID numbers, and reservation
Talk about
details.
bullet dodge.
Yeah, so pretty limited. Yeah, these stories are tragic, and the reason we want to report on them here on Technado is to remind everybody out there, like if you're using Amazon S3, you really need to understand, or any kind of cloud storage, cloud services, that they're open to the world. They are under attack. There are the Shodan search engine you can use to find open S3 buckets. Like, it's trivial to get into this stuff.
And this is the crazy part about it, right? We're thinking most people use the word hacker or cyber attacker or something like that. People think, oh yeah, somebody with super technological skill sets, and somebody was just kicking around the internet one day and was like, oh, what's this? An S3? Wow.
Yeah.
Credit cards, cool.
It's the equivalent of leaving your TV in the front yard.
Yeah, and with a live feed on to like your banking.
And then when it's gone, when you come home, being surprised.
Yeah.
Who took the TV?
Yeah, the takeaway for the company is secure your S3 bucket. The takeaway for the consumer is always use an alias if you're having a extramarital affair and you're booking hotels, or call the hotel and book directly for those.
That is the sad part, right? Like the
Yeah.
cheaters are okay in this scenario because they use
That's
fake
true.
credentials, but the rest of us are burned.
Well, I guess you got to use your real name though if you're using a credit card, and if these are
If you're using a
online
credit card.
transactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the hotels that you pay by cash, I don't think are the ones that are on
not on
Expedia.
hotels.com.
by the hour at hotels.com.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to filter this. Just show me the 1-star hotels.
Yeah.
Show me the no questions asked.
Yeah.
Don't ask. Don't tell.
$7. That's not bad. Do I need a rental car? Hell yes.
Yeah, and a hepatitis vaccine before you go.
The nearest clinic is right
Delivered,
there. Yeah.
delivered on site.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
Yeah. Thanks,
times.
Captain
You're
Obvious.
welcome. All right, our next article is at securityboulevard.com. Survey sees AI automation cast shadow over security careers. So is this saying that basically like security careers were the hot thing for the longest time,
Sure.
and now, I mean, we even talked about it in the first segment with CertNexus of the emerging technologies. Is that coming to the forefront now and passing security in terms of popularity?
Well, in this case, I don't think it's so much that as it is the fact that people are able to automate a lot of tasks that security professionals do. And Peter, you remember we went to RSA a couple of years in a row, and it was vendor after vendor promoting these artificial intelligent machine learning systems that would scan your network and learn all your traffic and do all this work, which is work that security professionals used to do by hand. So some people are starting to get worried about that. And honestly, it makes me wonder how much longer we need to keep Daniel around.
How do I not have the South Park sound on here of they're taking our job?
They're taking our jobs.
Daniel, they are taking your job.
You know, it's funny. They actually brought this question up when I was sat at the panel on ChannelCon last year. Like, how much should we be worried about AI taking our jobs away from us, doing things? And I think if you look through this article, it talks about how this is really more of an issue, or it looks like 22% of cyber professionals over 45 said automation represented a threat, but nearly half of respondents, 47%, under 45 said their job security is also heavily threatened. So there's kind of an age disparity there, a disparity on who they think is going to, or who thinks they're going to have their jobs taken away from them. I can understand the younger crowd kind of thinking that, but typically what ends up happening with these is they just become a tool set and people that have been in the business kind of realize that. So if you're a little bit older, you kind of understand that that's the case.
Well, if it's age kind of boundary on there, it might actually be a matter of who's seen Terminator and who hasn't.
That's true. That's true.
So that would be an influencing factor.
It's like, we knew the machines were coming for us, son.
right.
You haven't seen T2. Jeez, it'd be automatic. Make that on the onboarding.
We know what happened to Sarah Connor. We're
right.
on,
Saw her roast to death against a fence.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can take action now.
That's right.
Still see that when I close my eyes.
When those robots come for your prescription medications.
And they will.
Old glory. So, one argument could be made. Well, first of all, you could always move to a job in AI because someone's got to be
certainly.
creating that stuff.
Yeah.
But the second thing is too. I mean, I think hackers are. I mean, they could put these same technologies to use as well on their end, and I think you've got to have some human interaction there still watching over these things.
Absolutely. One thing Lindsay mentioned was data science, and most of us are probably thinking like, data science, I'm not a programmer. But when you buy some of these tools, I know I'm just
That's
invalidating
so
the whole
funny.
career field. so
Justin's rolling over.
Yeah,
right
we all
now.
thought stupid, right? Yeah.
So, these tools, they don't just work out of the box, right? You've got to train them. They have to learn your environment. So somebody does actually have to configure, maintain, and monitor those systems. And they get false positives all the time. Somebody's got to interpret the data. So, Peter, I know you just kind of threw it out there, but you're absolutely right. You need to evolve your skills, and your skills need to become how you train these AI devices.
Right. And then it frees you up to do more creative things or more important things, because AI is now kind of handling all that, the random stuff that comes throughout your day. Anybody that's ever worked at help desk would be like, man, it'd be awesome if we could automate password resets, and all I had to do was actually work on computers that were broken.
Yeah, if 60% of your stuff is taken off your plate right away, you can be more proactive maybe with other things. But I also got to think from a hacker's perspective, if I know, wow, all of this stuff is now just AI watching, I got to be able to think that I can do things to mask what I'm doing nefariously and put it into patterns or whatever to sneak by. There's nobody watching the gate anymore except for a robot. Here's the things I can do now to get past that.
I think another thing to keep in mind, though, is artificial intelligence means that the computer is able to think to some degree like a human. But the thing we don't usually mention is the age of that human, right? It's like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
If you've ever had a conversation with Siri in any way, or Alexa, or any of those, it's hard enough to order a pack of batteries. So I don't really feel a threat in terms of security danger.
I come home all the time to find my Roomba in the shower because there's a step down and no door, and it just gets in there, cleans that whole shower like 3 times, and like, I guess I'm done. Yeah.
Clean this.
Not too worried about it. Yeah, if the Roomba's the one watching your network.
Those are the kind of robots that it won't be such a big deal defeating. Like, I went up the stairs.
Yeah, eat that robot. That's got a tactical nuke. Shit.
Oh, it's Lenovo. My bad. All right, while we're doing CertNexus month here at Technado, we've got a webinar from IT Pro TV to let you know about. If you head over to itpro.tv/webinars, the next one, Powering the Operation of New Mobility, how AI, IoT, 5G, and the cloud are shaping the future of transportation. So that one's pretty cool. Elena Farnsworth's going to be doing that on Thursday, November 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, head to itpro.tv/webinars where you can sign up for that and take a look at all the archived ones that we've done in the past as well. We had a really cool one last week that Daniel was a part of with the people from CertNexus as well, solving the cybersecurity skills gap with NICE, the NICE framework. So that one's on there as well, archived now, so you can take a look at that. And also, speaking of CertNexus month, we have CertNexus Jeopardy coming up. That is, let's see the date on this bad boy. That is coming
November 32nd.
November 32nd. Oh, it's actually Friday, November 13th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
Friday the 13th.
And we got Friday the 13th with a potential tropical storm coming through. It's going to be
tropical.
A lot of fun.
Man, I wonder what'll happen. It's only 2020. I'm sure things are getting better.
Good things.
Fire. The tropical storm will rain fire.
It is just a firestorm.
Who knew Sharknado was true?
It was a prediction of 2020.
The future, yeah. Ian Ziering, how do we not listen to him? Also, while you're on that internet, head over to go.itpro.tv/Technado. You can get a coupon code for 30% off of your personal subscription. That's for the lifetime of your prescription. You can also request a team trial and learn more about all the cool features available to you for a corporate membership as well at go.itpro.tv/Technado.
You said that was for the lifetime of their prescription.
Yeah.
I think it's subscription.
Well, no, it depends.
We're not doctors over here.
Do we sell prescription medicines now?
Yeah. We're getting in the biz.
Side effects to watching Daniel's content are rare, but include
certification.
If you've been watching
it's
Technado,
rare. Yeah,
Job getting.
it's rare, very rare.
Yeah.
if you've been watching Technado for 4 hours or more, see a doctor.
See a doctor.
Yeah, psychologist.
Yeah.
Would be the way to go there. All right, well, that's it for this week. Thank you again to Lindsay Bachman for joining us. Thank you, gentlemen, and have a good Friday the 13th tropical storm party.
Can't wait till the fire hits.
It's coming. All right, we'll see you next time, hopefully, right here on Technado with Don Pizzette.